Hello, everyone. Emma and Cindy here. We are here for our normal community conference call or community Facebook Live. We don't have a guest today. Right now, it's just going to be me and Cindy, and we're going to talk to you about a lot of the details about Rage Against the War Machine on October 11th, as well as the summit that is happening the following day on the 12th, and answer any questions that anybody watching might have. So if you do have questions, feel free to ask them at any time by typing them into the comments on our Facebook page. So you have to be at the March on the Pentagon Facebook page to comment questions there so we can see them, and they'll pop up here, and I can put some of the questions up on the screen too. And I'm going to spend a couple of minutes sharing this video in a few of our other places. If you want to start it off, Cindy, by talking about Friday, the October 11th, and go through a couple of those plans while I get this in a few other places.
Okay, great. So thank you if anybody's joined us today. Thank you, Emma, for everything you always do. And so I don't know if anybody's on, but I'll just talk to you. So I know there's a thing competing in New York City today, and so this was our regularly scheduled time. So we felt like we should at least have something today. And if people aren't here live, they can definitely watch the replay of it. So we're coming up. There's been a few people have questioned me about what's coming up in Washington D.C. and for Rage Against the War Machine. Just really in 8, 11, 19 more days, so a little less than 3 weeks. This is coming up. Some people have asked me, are we doing the same thing we did last year? So I'm like, no, we're not doing the same thing we're doing last year. Thanks for paying attention. But we've been talking about this for a long time. We're going to meet at the White House on October 11th at 11 a.m. So there's 2 11s, you can remember. And we're going to rage against Trump at the White House. Last year, if people remember, we did not. Hi, Renee. Renee Powers is on our video.
Yeah.
So if you remember last year, we were very adamant about not making the Women's March on the Pentagon about Trump. And we felt like all of the other movements were so much about Trump. Well, but they should have also been about Obama when Obama was president. And so anyway, especially the Women's March was all about Trump, and the Women's March didn't address the war machine. So that's why we decided to have a Women's March on the Pentagon. So this year we figure that Trump has he's on a pace to drop more bombs than Obama when Obama was president. So we figure that even though there's been some things that he did that we have thought were not so terrible, just because once in a while we agree with a decision he made doesn't mean that the U.S. isn't still in many overseas wars. So we're going to rage against Trump. We're going to start there. Then we're going to walk to this is a moving protest from place to place on a Friday in Washington, D.C. And I want to say, people are like, why are you doing this on Friday? Well, tomorrow they're going to try to shut down Washington, D.C. on a Monday. So if climate, and it's not like we are, we're in solidarity with people who are trying to call attention to the horrible situation that the world is in because of the climate. But if they can come if they can go to Washington, D.C. on Monday to shut it down, then people can come also on a Friday. And we're coming on a long weekend anyway. So then we'll walk to the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. Then we're going to rage against the IMF. And at each place we go, we're going to have flyers to pass out to passersby who might not be involved in our in our protest, but we're going to share why are we raging against Trump at the White House? Why are we raging against the IMF at the IMF? And then our next stop, which we haven't really confirmed or settled on, is some war profiteer in Washington, D.C. And, you know, these would be people like Raytheon or Boeing or, you know, whatever. And there's many, many of them in D.C. And so we're going to rage against the war profiteers. Then we're going to Farragut Square, which is supposedly banned from protesting. And I noticed that some people who are doing the climate march tomorrow, shut down DC, are also starting at Farragut Square. And we're going to have a speech and a rally there, and we're going to rage against the Democrat Party. We're raging against Trump at the White House. We feel it's fair that we're going to rage against the Democrat Party also, since they are just one half of the war party, sometimes even the more vicious half than the Republicans. We're going to then go to the Atlantic Council, which is this probably one of the most influential think tanks in Washington, D.C. that, you know, everybody knows about the CFR and the Trilateral Commission or whatever. But the Atlantic Council has been identified by such people as Peter Phillips, who wrote the book Giants, about, you know, it's like, okay, the U.S. government, yeah, that it's bad, but there's definitely some very insidious, about 400 people that we should be raging against. Also, the Atlantic Council contains some of those people. So we're going to rage against the think tank, the Atlantic Council. Atlantic Council is kind of, you know, these things like the IMF, the war profiteer, the Democrats, they're kind of standing in for larger things. So Atlantic Council is standing in for think tanks. Whatever war profiteer we pick is standing in for all war profiteers. And like the IMF, there's the World Bank, there's the Federal Reserve, there's a lot of Wall Street. You know, Wall Street is definitely involved in war and financing war and supporting war. So these places are like Trump, raging against Trump. He's going to represent, you know, the U.S. government. He's going to represent the Republican Party, etc. And so then we're going to close off our march that day. And we're going to rage against Bezos. Is it Bezos or Bezos? I don't know. Bezos. His name. We're going to stop at the Washington Post. And we're going to, the Washington Post represents, of course, corporate media. We have already confirmed Manar Muhawesh from Mint Press News. Hi, Jane, just came on. Jane from Jacksonville, Florida. So the Washington Post is going to represent corporate news, but the Washington Post is especially insidious because they also are, you know, propaganda. They're just like the spokespeople for the CIA, for the Democrat Party, for the war machine. And then we also have a bonus of raging against the owner of the Washington Post, Bezos. Am I saying that right?
Bezos.
Yeah, I'm like, how can somebody have $114 billion in personal wealth? And we just posted something recently. He cut health benefits for all part-time workers at Whole Foods. And so what does that mean? You know, I think all the money it's saving him is like maybe like an hour of what he makes, an hour's worth of what he makes. So it's not just raging against the Washington Post, it's raging against the 1%. And Jeff Bezos is in like the 0.001%. He's the richest, wealthiest person on the planet. And to me, personally, to me, that is disgusting, and that one person is allowed to accumulate so much wealth. While here in in Sacramento County has 5,500 homeless people. Los Angeles has thousands of homeless people. California, of course, leads the nation in the homeless situation, where there's just so many things wrong with one person hoarding so much wealth, and not just that, but like Amazon, it maintains the cloud for the CIA. So it's just really evil, not in a religious way, but just hey, Tracy, North Carolina, she'll be joining us to rage against all of these evil institutions. So that's basically Rage Against the War Machine. Do you want me to talk about fairs?
Well, I did want to point out one really interesting thing, actually, about two of those stops and the date that we're doing it. Friday, October 11th, as we've said, and as all of our graphics say, it happens to be the 1-year anniversary of when the massive Facebook purge happened last year, when a bunch of independent media outlets and journalists and activists, their pages were deleted from Facebook with no warning, which we know the Atlantic Council had a huge hand in that.
That's right.
So the fact that we're stopping on that day at the Atlantic Council, who was responsible for these pages, who were contributing to the anti-war movement, who had a strong anti-war voice, and just an anti-establishment and anti-imperialist voice too, disappeared from Facebook. And some of those people and some of those outlets disappeared after then, because that was the primary source of their traffic. There was no way to continue after that. And everybody else that's tried to continue since then has been struggling so hard to try to get back on their feet. So the fact that we're stopping there on the 1-year anniversary, and then also stopping at the Washington Post, an outlet that, as you said, is just a mouthpiece for the government, basically, and is just like every mainstream outlet, makes mistakes, says false things by mistake, sometimes says false things on purpose, but doesn't see any consequences when stuff like that happens. But independent media sees consequences. One tiny mistake and you're punished on Facebook, or you're punished on other social media platforms, or you're outright deleted, like happened 1 year prior to our march. So I know there's a lot of people that will be joining us, and a lot of people that will be watching online that were really affected by what happened on that date. So I'm glad that that's happening on that day. I think that's super significant.
But we also, that's where we're going to do our civil disobedience.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to do it at the White House, but they actually are building a fence. So they're like under construction. So we can't do it at the White House. But, I think the Washington Post is a very apt place to do our civil disobedience. I'm not sure that their propaganda ever is a mistake. I think that, they just outright know when they're telling lies, and they just do it to support the war machine. So, and we're hoping that by doing our civil disobedience there, we can call out the unfair labor practices, the unfair pay, the unfair, wealth accumulation that Bezos has made, and also, that the Washington Post is a propaganda arm, and then we can hopefully maybe somebody from the Post will cover it. Maybe they'll probably lie about it. Oh my God, they've lied about me so much. I hate their guts. There's this guy, I don't know if he's still there, Dana Milbank. So he's just so nasty to me. I just can't stand. Sometimes he's joined us on marches and stuff just to get dirt to talk about. So I really hate his guts.
Well, maybe if he's still there, we can have a sign specifically for him.
I don't hate anybody really, but So yeah, so should we have talk about the $5 challenge, and then I can talk about theirs?
Yeah. Well, one more thing about the march is, one question that I get sometime is, we're starting at 11, but about how long do you expect it to last? just for people who are planning to maybe leave work to try to make it since it's on a Friday?
Cool. So good question. And if anybody else has questions, we see you there in the comments. If we walked that without stopping, it's only a 40-minute walk. It's about 1.5 miles. So I'm thinking that we're going to stop at each place about 10 minutes. So that adds another 40 minutes by the time we get to the Washington Post. I think it'll take us about, or as I love to call it, the Washington Compost. So, except compost.
Compost is a good thing.
Yeah, compost is actually a good thing. So maybe it's good to put in your compost. I don't know. But it's not good for news. So let me think. So that's about 80 minutes. So that's an hour. So I would say it's going to take us about 1.5 hours to get to the Washington Post. So 12:30-ish, 1 o'clock. Just say we'll get to the Washington Post at 1 o'clock. So with our little rally and stuff. So I think we'll be, if you don't plan on doing civil resistance and you don't want to do risk arrest, then I'm sure it'll be wrapped up by 2. So that's 3 hours. Yeah.
Awesome.
3 hours.
Cool. And then one other thing about the march that Renee is watching us. I've been working with Renee a little bit to come up with some ideas on how people can make signs in Washington, because I know a lot of people are just like us. They don't live there, so you can't generally take a large protest sign on a stick on the airplane with you. So we've come up with a list of like some drugstores and stuff in the area close to the White House. If I'll gauge people's interests, but we might plan something maybe a half an hour or an hour before to just meet in a nearby park or something, so we can make some signs together and have a list of suggested phrases and things to put on our signs, so that we have a mix of signs in the crowd that are relevant to each of our stops. Because like you've explained with each of these places, it's so varied. We're targeting a lot in this march. So I want to make sure that all of our signs aren't just about Trump or just about one thing. So we've got a mix, because it's a Friday, so there are a lot of people are going to see us, and
right.
Well, we want them to see our messages.
Every place we're going to is a part of the war machine. So it's raging against the war machine. Yes, we are starting at the White House at 11. Jane asked that question. 10, 11 at 11.
Yes.
We're starting at the White House. And another interesting thing about this protest that we're doing, it's near the 18th anniversary of the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan, the longest war that, whatever. There definitely is a class war and a war against indigenous people of color, that has been going on since the United States was even before the United States was the United States. But when we think of troops being deployed someplace, Afghanistan is 18 years. There may be some people at our protests that weren't even born when your kids will be there. They weren't even born when the U.S. invaded and occupied Afghanistan. So, this is a really important factor that we need to emphasize over that weekend too. And there may be some, young people there that a lot of times there's always school trips. I always see a bunch of kids, with a bunch of students when I'm there in Washington, D.C. Sometimes their teachers even ask me to come over and say a few words. Sometimes they've tried to avoid me, but sometimes the teachers have asked me to say a few words. Is that to even know that the United States is at war, and we're always at war. And the United States has like 8 different, places right now, besides all the bases around the world. So I think that that's really an important thing to emphasize over this weekend also.
Definitely. I'm glad we're doing it on Friday.
Yeah. We might not get as many people, but we'll definitely be able to reach out to more people. There are more people will see us than where we were in the middle of the middle of nowhere last year.
It's not hard for more people to see us than did last year.
You want to talk a little bit so I can check the baseball score?
Sure. Here, let me put up on the screen. I will get rid of Cindy for a second. And we're doing a new donation challenge right now. I actually have not updated this graphic yet today, but if you can see on the bottom of this, we have a $5 donation challenge, and this is called the Rage-O-Meter. So right now, we've got this little dial at the bottom, and it points to how outraged we are. And right now, it looks like we're thinking everything is fine, and that's unfortunate because not everything is fine. That's why we're doing this. So our goal is to get enough people to donate $5 to get us up to $2,000, and that will take our dial all the way over to super outraged, past uncomfortable and upset and mad and just mildly outraged. We're incredibly outraged. So I will show you. If you head over to our website, oops, wrong one. There we go. Well, I'm blocking it with my face. But if you go over to our website, up on the top right, if you go to support us and hover over that drop down and then click on donate, you can head over to our donation page. That little donate button wobbles so you can't miss it, and click on that, and you can give us a tax deductible donation of $5 or more to help get our outrage meter over to outraged, because we are. And probably as soon as we get off of this video, I am going to update that so I can show you exactly where we're at. I don't recall exactly what you mentioned earlier, Cindy, about how much we had raised, how much we moved that dial. I was actually in Wisconsin earlier today and just drove back just in time for this, so I didn't.
What's the second one?
Just wondering how far we got on the.
I know, but what
dial.
I think we might have moved up to. We might have moved away from everything's okay.
Oh, okay, too uncomfortable.
Maybe people are getting uncomfortable with the warm.
Yes.
With our rageometer.
Yeah.
And also it's a challenge. It's a challenge. So if you can donate $5, or if you can't afford that, then if you do or do not donate $5, challenge your friends to donate too. Mm-hmm. That's why it's called a challenge. So,
yes. And I'll update that, and I'll post it on our page and our group and on Twitter. So whether you can donate $5 or not, just share that, and it'll have.
We should do something like, if we make the 2,000, then you can dump a bucket of ice water on me or something. Was there like an ice bucket water?
Yeah, but
an ice water bucket challenge or something like that. So
I wouldn't suggest doing that in October though, because last year it was very cold that day. If that happens again,
it's earlier in October. True. I mean, I've been there when it's been really decent. It was nice the whole time we were there, except that one day when we had the protest. It was freezing.
That's what happened to us over the summer too.
That's right.
Nice day, and then the White House flooded the day.
It was like every day was okay except the day we planned on, and then there was a flood. There was flooding. They were rescuing people from intersections in Washington D.C. that day. So
that was wild.
That was crazy. How do you share stuff on there? On it, Emma? Can only you share?
I think maybe only me. Is there something you wanted me to put in the comments?
Well, I have a thing for, let me see. I have details for the Anti-Imperialist Revolution Summit.
Oh, okay.
This is almost like, just like, a Facebook Live we're having here, where we're just kind of very.
If you send that to me in a message.
Oh, it's not real. It's not
okay.
Detailed. So
okay.
It's just, I can talk about it.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about it now?
Sure.
Okay, so the next day after Rage Against the War Machine, we are planning the Anti-Imperialist Revolution Summit and the revolution, whatever, anti-imperialist or anti-imperialism. I've seen it in many ways. I don't know if we've settled, but it's always airs. I don't know if we've settled on the exact verbiage for what we're doing, but so we always, like last year, we had a gathering at St. Stephen's Church before, but our goal, our energy is to build a movement. It's not just to like gather in Washington, D.C. once a year. It's actually to build a movement against imperialism. So our thoughts for the Anti-Imperialist Revolution or Anti-Imperialism Revolutionary Summit is that we get information and learn about why we need to be anti-imperialist, but then go, are we still on? Hello? Uh-oh, what happened? Are we still on? Uh-oh, Emma froze. Are we still here?
I'm back, sorry.
That's okay, you froze for a minute.
Yes.
Did everybody hear me?
I think that you were still okay. It's just me.
I could tell that something, I wasn't looking at the live stream, but I could tell something was wrong. Okay.
Yep. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So let me go back to the other screen. Okay, cool. So anyway, is to learn about why it's important to be anti-imperialist. It's like we need to have a movement going against the wars, against imperialism, which means against the bases. It means against all wars. It means there's no such thing as a humanitarian intervention. It means we can't pick and choose like, oh, we're only going to be against regime change wars, but not against all the other wars, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, and we have to really stand against militarism too. You know, we don't want any of our young people to be consumed by the war machine, like my son was, like so many thousands of others have been. So, and that protects people around the world, which we're in solidarity with the occupied people. And so how do we do this? How do we like take what we learned, what we did, the energy we received over the Rage Against the War Machine weekend and go to our communities? I think Emma just go to our communities and build movements there, which is so important. So we're meeting at St. Stephen's Church. I think registration starts at 11:30. Emma will tell you about the Eventbrite we have that people can pre-buy tickets, or so we get kind of an idea of how many people are going, but also people have been paying for other people to go because the charge is between $0 and $10. And when you buy tickets on Eventbrite, can you put in $0?
There are 3 different options. You can buy a $10 here. I'll put this up on the screen. I'll take you away. Well, if it'll let me. It's not going up. Oh well. There are 3 different options of tickets. You can get a $0 ticket, a free ticket. You can get a $10 ticket, which is the general admission normal cost, or you can pay it forward. The pay it forward is to cover people who can't afford to go there themselves. You can put in $10. You could just put in $5. You could put in $20 or whatever you want. But there are those 3 options, and you can also buy a ticket, and you can do a pay it forward on top of that too, if you want to. So it's flexible, however you want to make that work. But we've actually had quite a few people do pay it forward, which is exciting.
Very exciting.
Yes, and basically the reason that we're just doing the $10 tickets is to cover the cost of the rental. We have to rent the church to use the space that day, and then we'll have some snacks and refreshments and stuff like that. So we're not trying to make a giant profit by selling tickets to get into airs, but we just want to cover the cost of using that space and the supplies that we'll need for that time. So if you have not bought your ticket for that yet, you can find a link to it basically everywhere on our Facebook page, on the airs event page, as well as on our website. It's one of the first things that pops up right when you go to our website, or when you're on the page that's specifically about all of the March details. There are lots of different ways to find that Eventbrite. But I will also take that link and post it into the comments right now for anybody that is watching or watching this later. You'll see that comment pop up now if you want to check that out.
Great. Awesome. So maybe we can get Jeff Bezos to pay it forward.
Oh, I think he can afford that.
You know. Maybe we can get him to bail us out of jail.
Yes.
So, whoever's not in jail, and I want to say again that for the civil resistance part, civil disobedience part, our expert on that in Washington, D.C., Malachi Kilbride, has said that if we get arrested at D.C. Metro, chances are very, very good that we will be out. So we won't have to stay all night in jail. We'll just have to save a little bit, maybe get citations and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't guarantee that, but chances are really good that because there's different jurisdictions. There's DC Metro, which the Washington Post is under that jurisdiction. There's the Park Police, and there's the Capitol Hill Police, and there's all kinds of other police there. But those are the main. Last year we were actually under the jurisdiction of the Pentagon Police and Arlington County Police last year. So anyway, so if we do get arrested, we're going to risk arrest. If we do get arrested, then chances are super good that we'll be out for the summit the next day for airs. So our first panel is going to be, and we're hoping to have childcare too, so which is a plus. We're going to have music before I get into panels. Sharon Abreu, one of our committee members, is going to do music. We have confirmed Lucy Murphy, who was there last year, very, very good. And we're trying to we're going to have music between the panels, a short amount of music, and so people can, have some, get up and stretch and have a little bit of, fun between the panels, I guess. I don't know. It's fun for me. So we're going to have a panel with Women Against Military Madness from St. Paul, Minneapolis. Emma's part of that group, and they're going to talk about local organizing, because they've been a really good local group in the Twin City area for several decades, right, Emma?
For longer than I have been alive.
Yeah, so more than 3+ decades.
Yep.
And I know I've worked with them a lot when I've been in the Twin Cities, and they're just very amazing. And so they're going to talk about how they're a successful group doing local organizing. Then we're going to have people who have been to foreign countries that are being sanctioned or threatened with sanctions by the United States. We have, this panel is completely confirmed. We have Terry Matson, who's recently back from Honduras. We have Dakota Lilly on Venezuela. We have, Judy Bello, who's in Syria right now as we speak. And then we have Manar Muhawesh is going to do Iran. So from Knit Press News. She's a Palestinian American woman, and she's, I guess, the publisher of Knit Press News. she's going to talk about the sanctions around Iran and that dangerous situation. Then we have a panel called Enough is Enough and the Endless Wars. And it's like, what happened to the anti-war movement? When the wars are still going on, where's the anti-war movement? So, and our contention is, of course, it has to be an anti-imperialist movement, not just an anti-Republican war movement. So I think we have Lee Camp confirmed for that one. He's great. Anne Wright is confirmed for that one. She's great. Medea Benjamin is confirmed for that one. And I think we're going to reach out to maybe somebody from Black Agenda Report for that one also. Then we have a very interesting panel we're saving for the last, because we hope people will want to stay. Struggles against U.S. imperialism in North America. So that would be the Native, Indigenous people struggle, the Black struggle, Puerto Rican struggle, the Canadian struggle. Just kidding. We're not including Canada. I'm just joking. So yeah, I think that I think the panels are going to be really interesting, and we're asking people if they want to table to share their organization's information and sell books or whatever they do. So I think that's about it for the anti-imperialist revolution.
If you are coming and you're interested in tabling, just connect with me or Cindy, and we can get that set up for you. Or I believe we're asking for $50 for people who want to have a table, and that comes with 2 tickets to get in.
Yes, exactly. $25 to $50.
Okay.
Depending on the organization's ability to pay. So Jeffer, wait for it, son. That's not a made-up name. You need a band to cover Rage Against the Machine.
We need Rage Against the Machine, if anybody.
Yeah, I do know them. So pretty good friends with Tom Morello. We're gonna have the sound system. We should just be blasting their music while we're walking, right?
True.
At least some of it.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and if Jeffer, wait for it, son. If you know a band, let us know. Okay. It would be great to have some energetic music along with the other music. I guess the music will be energetic, but I don't know what I'm talking about. I love rock. So we have our shirts on. Em and I have our shirts on. And a lot of times people look at them because they think they're Rage Against the Machine. And then they have a little war part, and then they're like, Rage Against the War Machine. And then they go like, oh wait, that's not the band.
Yeah.
And so we get a chance to talk to them about what we're doing. So yeah.
Speaking of the shirts, we're done with our fundraisers for shirts, but we did order some extra ones again this time. So did you get those in the mail yet?
Not yet. Okay. I haven't even got the one I ordered yet, but you already got yours?
I got mine, so you should get those soon. So as soon as we get those, we will add some more shirts to our shop on our website. If you go over to our website, over on the right-hand side, click on Support Us, and there's a store link there. So there'll be a few more shirts, but then once those shirts are gone, no more shirts.
Well, I'm bringing whatever we don't sell to DC, to sell them at DC. And
I guess since we're talking about the shop, let me show the other stuff that we've got in the shop. So we mentioned the different ways that you can help support us right now in terms of money supporting us. There's the $5 challenge, getting your tickets or paying it forward for the summit. But we also have stuff available in our shop if you want to also physically have something too for supporting us. We have bumper stickers. War is a woman's issue. Gun control begins at the Pentagon. A nice Rage Against the War Machine sticker too. I have this one on my car. It looks great. If you're looking for something smaller, we also have tiny stickers, Rage Against the War Machine. We have a few of these left with the details about what's happening, because these stickers are going to be a little bit less useful after the date. So if anyone wants some of these before the march to stick on stuff, we only have a few of those left. Then we have got Badass Billy here, and we've got March on the Pentagon, and then we've got a couple of pins too. So you can find all of these on our website in the shop, and I will bring these things along with us also to Washington, D.C. when we're there in October. So.
And another thing worth mentioning is that for the events happening in New York City today and tomorrow, we have a couple of our committee members there passing out flyers and selling the stickers and stuff. Mm-hmm. So we are getting, because those are really, realistically, the people on the East Coast are going to be the ones that will be able to come to Washington, D.C. in October. So I'm just looking at, I have all my stickers up here on this little thing I have. That's why I was looking up there. Should I mention next week's call?
Oh, sure.
And also I should mention, if anybody has any questions about anything, I think the people who are on this are the ones who have actually been paying attention. I know we're not marching on the Pentagon again this year. But
thank you people that are watching for knowing.
Thank you so much for paying attention.
Yes.
Oh, wow. And so anyway, and I'm laughing because these are people who should have been paying attention to know we're not marching on the Pentagon this year. But next week, next Sunday at 12 o'clock Pacific, 2 o'clock Central, and then 3 o'clock Eastern, we are going to have Forrest Palmer from the Wrong Kind of Green organization. He's going to be coming on and doing a Facebook live event with us on how the Pentagon does destroy the environment. There's a lot of organizations like 350.org and some other ones, not like right off the top of my head, that refuse to address the Pentagon and U.S. imperialism as a major cause of environmental destruction around the world. As a matter of fact, what's his face from 350.org, Bill McKibben, wrote an op-ed for the Atlantic, the New York Review of Books, it doesn't matter, that said that we shouldn't be blaming the Pentagon. The Pentagon is leading the world in renewable energy, blah, blah, blah. But guess what? He happens to have a really good friend who is invested in selling solar panels to the Pentagon, which is like, it's like you're saying you're curing cancer by giving somebody a tissue. That's basically what selling solar panels to the Pentagon is doing. They have over 1,000 bases around the world that are Superfund sites. Of course, they use the most fossil fuel, and they want to blame us, like we need to recycle, we need to save gas, and we do. We all need to do all of that stuff, but they're saying, oh no, it's the rest of you, greedy Americans who are destroying the environment. They're trying to move our attention away from the Pentagon. So Forrest Palmer is going to bring our attention back where it needs to be, on the U.S. war machine, global imperialism, capitalism, and the Pentagon, definitely. So we will definitely promote that very heavily. We were hoping we would do that this week, but this has turned out to be quite amusing for me. Our little thing here is making me happy. My computer's getting ready to die, though. I'm gonna have to plug it in, or go get my cord, or end this pretty soon.
We're coming up to 45 minutes, so we should probably end it soon. I don't know anyone will get through it later after coming back to watch it. But I'm excited that we have something happening on that topic. That's a topic that I specifically personally care a lot about.
Well, and we've been addressing it since last year.
Yep.
I mean, we've been addressing it since we've been an organization, which we're coming up on almost 2 years, like this January. Will be a 2-year-old organization, but that's something that we've been addressing this whole time. And we get really upset when, you know, candidates, other organizations refuse to address it. You want to take me off screen so I can get my cord, because my computer is just
sure. Well,
or you guys can just look at my flag back there.
Yeah, because my buttons aren't working now since my Wi-Fi got weird. So, but yeah, I think specifically like the timing of having that be a topic is a topic to do a live stream about. In some ways, would have been great this week because of the climate strike that happened on Friday, and because the shutdown in DC for the climate that's going to happen on Monday. But obviously, we don't have a ton of viewers right now because a lot of people are occupied with what's going on in New York, are either there or watching that live stream. So next week is great timing too, because the war machine isn't affecting the environment every day. It's not just this weekend.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's not going to end by next
week. Yeah.
So it's something that we've been, like I said, we've been emphasizing. And that's what, you know, when we were at the Pentagon last year, it definitely put an emphasis on that crime against humanity. It is it's definitely not just an urgent issue. It's definitely a crime against humanity that the United States is perpetrating on the world.
And like you said, the fact that we put so much pressure on individual people, it is nice that people are beginning to realize that corporations and capitalism needs to be held accountable for what it's doing to the environment. But that the way I usually say it is, you can bring like all of the reusable bags to the grocery store that you want, but as long as the war machine is doing what it's doing, we're not, that pales in comparison. Even if we all did all of the things, it still doesn't compare to what the war machine is doing. So,
well, you know, capitalism, imperialism want to always put the pressure on us, like we're the things that are the problem, you know. So, and that's what's so great about Rage Against the War Machine, because we're going to go to those places who are really the ones who are responsible. Yes, they are criminals. They are criminals, and that's what always like gets me when I've been arrested. I always feel like, you're arresting me, you know. I'm not even really like, I'm not even violating my constitutional rights, you know. But there's people who are who work in these places who are war criminals. They're, you know, murderers. They're psychopaths, and we're the ones that are being arrested. I was chained to the wall once. Like I was in. Can you see me pretending to be chained to the wall? No.
I saw one. Oh, there you are. Okay.
I chained to the wall. I was chained to a wall once. I'm thinking, I didn't even know what I was thinking. Bush was speaking at Congress. He was giving his State of the Union you know, a criminal, this war criminal, this murderer, was giving a speech to Congress and getting applauded, yay, whatever. And I'm chained to a freaking wall, the Capitol Police. I'm like, how is this like, our country is so messed up. So, you know, one of our goals is to make war abnormal, to make crimes against workers abnormal, to make accumulating $114 billion in wealth while you're paying your workers shit. Emma never cusses, so I try not to cuss. You're paying your workers like nothing, and you have $114 billion. That's not normal. That's a crime, and that's what we should be thinking. And so we're going to jail to call attention to that fact that we're not the ones that should be in jail. There's people who order people's murders on a daily basis, and they're the ones that should be in jail, not us.
Yep. Exactly. I think we pretty much covered everything, unless there's somebody watching that has a question about our plans that weekend. I guess to summarize, we're not marching on the Pentagon this year. We will be in Washington, D.C. where people can see us.
This is confusing to people. We're march on the Pentagon presenting Rage Against the War Machine. So Jeff, wait for it, son, wants a shirt. So if you're in luck. So just go to the place Emma directed you to the shop, the mop shop, and order a shirt. We'll get it mailed to you.
Yes, I maybe as soon as we're done with this, I have to update that $5 donation graphic, and then I'll get that info from you again about how many you ordered of each size, so I can update our inventory, because we did sell out most of our shirts that we had last round.
So we're almost already sold out on the smalls, and we haven't got the shirts yet. So
okay,
we only have one small left.
That's impressive. Don't even have them, and we only have one left.
Yeah. They're going like hotcakes.
Oh. Nice mug.
That's my twin.
Oh, wow. Well, it doesn't look like anyone has any questions, because like you said, the people watching are the people that know what we're doing.
You all, Jane, and everybody who
yes. Yep. But for anybody that's watching this when it isn't live, if you have questions, you can comment right in the comments on the page, and we will see that, or you can send our page a message, or you can talk to Cindy or I directly and send us a message in the many different ways that you can send us messages on the website, email us, contact us on Facebook, Twitter, send us a carrier pigeon, if that's what you like. Yeah, so don't hesitate to ask us questions, or to suggest something, or whatever it might be, or to share stuff too. I like our Facebook group page right now. It's been really active with people sharing things that they are doing, sharing things that they're seeing in the news, all kinds of things.
I know what you can talk about. You can talk about the Facebook pages that we just made.
Yes, I thought about that earlier, and then I didn't have a way in, because I thought about while you were talking.
And when I say we just made, I mean Emma.
So we have new Facebook groups for some specific areas that we have multiple people coming from to go to Rage Against the War Machine, to help those different groups of people organize a little bit better. There's a Pennsylvania page, a New Jersey page, a New York page, a Massachusetts page, and I think a Florida, or a group, actually. The groups, not pages.
And Austin.
Oh,
too,
yes.
right?
Yes, if you are from any of those places, you can join those different groups to connect with people about transportation. If people are driving, maybe they have space in their car. If you're driving and you have space in your car, you can post on there. You can also post on our bigger group page too, but we narrowed those down specifically to some locations that are closer to Washington, D.C., since there's a higher chance that people close will be able to get there, as opposed to from across the country. It gets harder the closer we get to the date. But if you've got a group of people, or it is just you, and you're from an area that we don't have a group for, I can make another group if you want a group. If you just shoot me a message, I can replicate exactly what we did for the other ones, because those can also be used for people that are not able to join us in Washington, D.C., but you want to organize some sort of solidarity event where you live. You can also connect with local folks on those groups to organize something like that. And I guess good time to remind people too that you can do that if you can't join us in Washington. Set something up where you are. We do have something bigger happening with multiple organizations in the Twin Cities in solidarity with Rage Against the War Machine. That's more of a organized, official event. I know not everybody lives somewhere where you do have established groups that you can work with. So if you want to set up a solidarity event and it's just you, or it's just you and a friend, or you and 5 people, that's awesome too. It doesn't have to be a massive Facebook event that you're organizing. If you want to say that my tiny town in Nebraska, it has a solidarity event and it's you and a sign, do that and take a picture and let us know.
Can I do that, Emma?
Well, you should come. You are like the keynote speaker at the summit, so you should be there.
I wanted to.
Please.
Take a time and go by City Hall. Austin, Texas, that's what she's doing. That's what her Facebook page is for. So last year we had like 16 solidarity events.
Yeah.
Or was that just in Japan? Japan had a whole bunch.
Japan had a lot. That was nice.
Yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah, but that's that. Like you say a lot that pretty much, what was it? You can't swing a cat and not hit something that's associated with the war machine. So basically, there's something around you. It's not too hard to find a recruiting office, to find someone that profits from the war machine, even like a local politician that is receiving money. You know, bank. Yeah, you can go anywhere.
Bank of America, and right, go to your congressperson's district office, because they all have district offices pretty close to in the district. So you know, ours is in the next town over, and he's not very good on this issue. Although he's a Democrat, he's not very good. Well, although he's a Democrat, pretty much he's a Democrat, so he's not very.
Yes. So he's not good. Yes.
Yeah. Therefore,
yes,
he's not good on this issue.
Shocking that a member of the war party is not good on the issue of war. But yeah, so if you can't come join us, which is completely understandable that not everybody can, especially now, just a couple weeks out, plane tickets are more expensive if you're coming from far away. But try to link up with some folks in your area and we can set up a group page for you if that would help. But don't be shy if it's just you. And set a self-timer with your phone or something so we can get a picture of you out there doing your thing with your sign.
And this is an important thing too, is that everything will be live streamed if people can't make it. So we were even thinking on the committee that if you can't make it to Ayers, have a viewing party. You know, you can invite people to your house and you guys can watch it live. We're hoping that we'll be able to field questions from people who are watching it on the live stream also. So as usual, everything will be live streamed.
Yes, the revolution will be live streamed.
We hope it will be a revolution. It definitely will be live streamed.
Yes. I don't think I have anything else to add.
Work, if we can get the connection.
Yes.
The connection to work, it will be live streamed.
Yes.
Oh, you guys are great. Thank you, everybody. I don't know. I think we've probably covered everything by now.
We have, and we are like 1 minute and 15 seconds off from being an hour of our live stream, so it might be good. Oh, a question.
Jennifer, he asked what we think of the current primary candidates. We really don't have time to get into that. Yeah, and we, as individuals, we have opinions, but we are a nonpartisan movement. Yeah. We, as a group, do not. We do have a pledge, an anti-imperialist pledge at our website, though, that we won't vote for or support candidates who are pro-imperialism. So you might want to check out our anti-imperialist pledge at our website.
I just put the link in the comments there. Good luck finding a candidate that is
she's so
against imperialism.
You're so winky. Emma. Okay, I think we're gonna have to cut it off now.
Yeah, we are 15 seconds from 1 hour, so let's.
My blood sugar is plummeting, and I'm gonna
Okay.
start singing things that I'll
Don't. Okay. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching, and check out all those links and let us know if you have questions after. Okay.
We love you. Bye.
Bye.